Hello everyone and welcome back to the video. In today's video we're going to be talking about some players that haven't won a major yet but I think are going to very soon. I also want to touch on players that have already won majors in 2023 and people that have won majors before but just not in this year. Now for players that have already won a major this year, you have Riddles, Light, Tweak, Spargo, Leo, Aquila, Mia, and Shuto. This is a pretty typical list. These are all players that have won a major last year. As well as something to note is the only players that have won 2 majors are going to be Mia and Aquila. Everyone else has only won 1. Not that people haven't been close. You have Mia who's been close to getting 3 majors because he just got 2nd at Callan. You have Tweak who is the 2nd place at Smash Ultimate Summit 6, Level Up Expo. And then you have Leo with a 2nd place at Major Upset. So there's been a couple players that have been close to getting some major repeats, but only Aquila and Mia have managed to do so far. Up next, you have players that haven't won a major yet in 2023, but were previous major winners, whether it was in 2021, 2022, 2020, 2019 for some of them. And the most notable ones that were top 10 last year, like around top 10, are Sonics, Proto Bonham, T, and Gluto. Now, some of them it is for attendance reasons. Proto Bonham and T haven't been to too many tournaments, and Sonics and Gluto have come pretty close sometimes. Specifically, Sonics, he's had a couple really strong ones that have almost got him the win. There's also players like Zach Lay that haven't had a win. Onan as well. Onan was probably top 10 last year, and he doesn't really have any majors this year. I think the only major he's been to was Let's Make Big Moves, where he didn't play super well. So I imagine if he starts going to majors more consistently, he'll be able to place. One that's really interesting to me, though, is Bloom. Bloom has not been to a major yet this year. I think the first or second major that he goes to, he's probably going to win. He is insanely talented, such a good player. Then you also have Ken, who's really good, Yoshidora, Cosmos, Kameme as well. People kind of forget, but Kameme won a major way back at the start of Ultimate. Then you have players like Mars and Esam, who aren't quite having the consistent results that they used to be. Well, Mars Loki kind of still is. He just doesn't really go to anything. But Esam isn't having as consistent results, but he definitely can bounce back. He's a caliber player that can still win majors. So there's a lot of people that haven't got their major wins yet this year, but that doesn't mean they're not going to. Some other major winners that I just forgot about are Niatono, Abba, Salt1, Kudo, Pelly, Quid, Lugi, and Tilde. Now from NA you have obviously Quid, Salt1, and Tilde. All those guys are serious threats. Salt1's probably the one that you think about the most just because he's usually at that top level. Though he hasn't been having amazing results recently, he'll probably bounce back pretty hard because he is just incredible. Tilde, kind of the same thing. We haven't seen a ton from him in 2022, but he had a really nice run at Let's Make Big Moves. 2023, by the way, not 2022. And then Quid as well. We've seen not a lot from Quid either. He had a decent collision, decent Let's Make Big Moves. When Quid just goes to things, I could honestly see him taking the entire thing. He's just such a talented player. You have Pelly and Lugi from EU as well. Now, EU unfortunately has not had a major yet this year, but if they did, these guys would probably be in contention to take that spot, especially Lugi. He has been heating up recently. And our final 3 from Japan of Kudo, Abba, and Niatono. Niatono's been really interesting to me lately because he's been finding a lot of success in the Diddy Kong. That's not something I ever thought I'd see. I think of Niatono, I think Pichu, that is stuck in my mind, but the Diddy Kong's been doing very well recently, so he'll probably keep pioneering that to maybe another win. Abadongo as well, he plays like 30 characters, so I could see him winning with like half the roster. And then Kudo, I haven't seen a ton from Kudo lately, but I wouldn't be super surprised if he just came back and started farming people with Zero Suit out of nowhere. Now, I'm going to be mentioning players together in groups just for the sake of time. And the first 3 people that I want to mention are Hiro, Big D, and SkyJ. And the reason that I mention them together is because I think their brackets are going to be very important. They're playing some pretty polarizing characters. In their strengths, they do very well. But in their weaknesses, it can be really bad. So even if there's only 1 or 2 bad matchups along the way, I still think they can win the majors because that's why they're so good. They can overcome those really tough matchups. And they've all come very close before. They all have 2nd place at a major. You have Hiro at Meisuma top 8, Big D at Gombel, and SkyJ at Collision. They all also have top 8s this year. You have SkyJ at Summit and Collision. You have Big D at Summit and Major Upset. And you have Hiro at Kagari 9. I think all these guys have the talent to win it. They're just so good at what they do. They instill the fear in people so well, and they hit you incredibly hard. Even if their bracket's like a little rough, even 1 or 2 unwinnable matchups, they still manage to win them anyway. So I definitely think one of these guys is going to pick up a huge win this year. The next 3 players I'm going to be mentioning are Zomba, Anathema, and MK Big Boss, and the reason that I'm grouping them together is because it might be pretty obvious, but they all play the same character in Rob, and they all have different things about them that are very good. Zomba's neutral is probably the best thing about him, Anathema's technicality is crazy, and then MK Big Boss has a really nice combination of the two, and he's also been the player that's been finding the most success recently. We haven't seen a ton of Anathema, I will say. Zomba as well, we haven't seen as much of him, but all these guys are just really consistent. You have MK Big Boss with probably the best result of the year at a top 8 at Let's Make Big Moves right at the start there, where he did beat Anathema in the Ditto, as well as MK Big Boss winning DreamHack recently, so shouts to him for that. I think all these guys are extremely talented, and Rob is a character that you can pilot definitely to the top level. We haven't seen Rob get a big win since I think Kagurabi 6 with Zachary, where he played a bunch of characters, so it's like kind of a Rob win, kind of a Joker win, kind of a Sheik win there as well. But any of these three players could definitely get the win if they just have the momentum, because when they're playing hot, they're some of the scariest players in the world. That's just kind of what Rob does to someone. They'll hit you once and you will explode. The next three players I want to talk about are kind of staples of the 2022 meta, and that's going to be Siski, Dabuz, and Meister. Now for Siski, we haven't really seen him. The only major that he's been at this year were Collision and Genesis, and he did okay at both, from 17th at Genesis, which is actually pretty good, and then 33rd at Collision, which is not the end of the world. Got upset by God I Mister, and then ran into Karama in the loser side, but he did have a really good showing at Shonen War, even though he did get kind of bodied by Bloom Forever. I don't really blame him. I think everyone else in the world would too, but he got wins on Tadek, Andres FN, Glutoni, and Orion, so that's a couple very good wins. You have Dabuz and Meister as well, who also don't have as many performances. He has a 9th at Let's Make Big Moves for Dabuz, which is probably his best run of the year. Wins on Apollo Kage, MPG, Doorstop, and Goblin, which are all really good players. 13th at Genesis as well, got wins on Gak, Andrik, and Shattuck. 33rd at Collision, a little bit of an underperformance there, losing to Skyjay and Quid. Again, not really terrible losses, and he also did get a nice win at PAX East Arena with wins on Jackal and Naito Sharp. And then finally, you have Meister with a 33rd at Let's Make Big Moves, which isn't super great. 25th at Genesis, got wins on Zenodo and No Tag, but he probably has the strongest run out of the three aforementioned players, with a 4th place at Collision, wins on Lima, Shiny Mark, Zomba, MVD, Karama, and Dark Wizzy. So those are some really strong wins, and obviously these guys are all familiar to the top 8s at Majors. They're some of the best players in the world throughout 2022, all playing some very good characters, except like Dabuz, who plays Rosalina. I have no idea how Dabuz is this good with Rosalina. Like, the character's not bad by no means, but he should not be able to make it work. I'm curious to see if the Minmin's going to become more of the focus, if he goes back to Almar, if it's all Rosalina. That's pretty interesting. You have Siski as well, who's been trying out a little bit of Snake. We saw in Cinnamon versus Bloom. I don't think we'll see it again, but it's not impossible. And then you have Meister, who we saw a little bit of Sora from. So all of these guys could use their secondaries to pilot. They could just use their one main that's got them so far to pilot. I wouldn't be surprised if any of them got a win, because they've all become very prominent threats throughout the 2022 meta. The next player that I want to talk about, I don't really have a category for, so I'm just going to talk about them, and that is going to be Lima. Lima is ridiculously good. He starts off the year pretty rough with a 97, but then has one of the best bounce backs that I've ever seen, with a 5th place at Collision, getting wins on Pink, Cage, Shiny Mark, Karama, Ling, and Tweak before losing to Skyjay and Meister. Battled for the South as well. Really nice losers run there. Loses to MPG fairly early on, but before that gets a win on Sunito, and after that gets wins on Vendetta, Mudace, Peanut, Anathema, Goblin, and Apollo Kage. Lima is such an incredible player, and he has shown me the ways of camping Bayonetta. Camping Bayonetta is crazy. That character looks like top 10 in the game. It is actually ridiculous how good he is with that style, because you just have this perfect movement around all these other characters, and when you hit people, you hit like a truck, and you don't have to worry about forcing the kill. That's usually Bayonetta's problem. It's like, do you know what? She takes a really long time to get the kill. You have to be super precise, and if you follow the kill confirm ranges, you're kind of just screwed. But what Lima says is, okay, I don't really care. You could be at 180 for 2 minutes. If you're not hitting me, I am a-okay with that. He's been having a lot of success with it. I think Lima could definitely pilot Bayonetta to a win this year. The next two players that I want to talk about were some of the rising stars of 2022, and that is going to be Karama and Apollo Kage. Now, for Karama, he had a bit of a rough start to the year, 2 17th places at Genesis and Collision, but it kind of shows the caliber of player that he is, that 2 17th at a super major is rough performances, but he bounces back very quickly with a 4th place at Ultimate Summit 6, 2 wins on Skyjay, win on Spargo, Void, and Mudace, 5th place at Major Upset, wins on JDV, Fizman, and Zomba, and a 2nd place at DreamHack San Diego with wins on AC, Naito, Chase, Luis, and Larry Lur, only losing to MK Big Boss. Karama is so impressive. I mean, his conversions are clean. You have to be with Mario, but his neutral game is just so impressive. Like, the way he's moving around with punishing people, it's amazing. And then for Apollo Kage, he is just learning. I mean, it's a meme at this point of Apollo Kage mentality. It's very good, but it's so hard to deny, because every single time he goes to a tournament, you can see him getting better. It's like he's slowly ramping up. He's slowly powering up, and his results reflect that as well. He starts off the year with a pretty good performance at Let's Make Big Moves, getting 13th place there, a couple good wins along the way. He does have a bit of a rough Genesis, getting 65th, but a lot of people had a rough Genesis, so I'll let it slide. 2nd place at Frosty Faustin, got a bunch of good wins there, including Assault 1 and Apollo Kage, or rather Riddles Apollo Kage. Pokekage is him, of course. Ninth place at Collision with wins on Oolong, Bacon, Cosmos, and Quandale Dingle-Lingleton, as well as Summit. We're going to skip Summit because that's like the highlight. Valid for the South as well. Bunch of good wins there, getting wins on BOMC, Omega, MPG, Goblin, and Lima. And then Summit, that juicy Summit performance, getting 7th place there. Wins on Void, Hungry Box, Glutony, and MK Leo. 3-0 over MK Leo with Snake, might I add. Apollo Kage is just so impressive. He is such a scary player because he's just slowly getting better. Again, he is constantly learning. It's like an AI downloading every single thing you do. He just writes it down. He is aware of everything. Everything is optimized. I'm just so impressed by his play, and I honestly wouldn't be surprised if he wins a major like soon. The next two players I want to talk about just haven't won majors yet because they haven't really been to any, and that is going to be DD and Shiny Mark. These guys essentially have no results. They just haven't been to anything. Shiny Mark has a very small list of majors. His only majors are Main Stage 2021, SmashCon 2022, Smash Factor 9, and Collision 2023. Collision 2023 is the only recent one that we care about, and luckily for him, it is an amazing tournament. He loses to Lima fairly early on, but then has a monster of a loser's run with wins on Ned, Henry Luma, Andres FN, Shattuck, Peanut, Ling, and MK Leo before losing to one of the hardest matchups he could get in Meister. And the best thing about Shiny Mark is that he does not care when he is playing. He will camp you out so hard, and that is perfect for Pikachu, because Pikachu, if you can play that whiff punish style, forcing people to come to you and have the punish game that Shiny Mark does, because he has all those perfect conversions on lock, it is such a scary playstyle. I think if Shiny Mark just goes to even 1 or 2 more majors, he's going to be in contention for that #1 threat, and on that third one, he's probably going to grab it because he is just such an incredible player. Same thing for DD. DD, we haven't seen him at a major event since DreamHack Atlanta. The only major that he's been to recently is MomoCon, and that tournament's not even recent. That's the only major that he's been to, period, where he got a really nice 5th place there. He has been to 4 tournaments this year, and they've all been locals, but mind you, it's Georgia, so it's pretty much a regional, and he's gotten 2nd, only losing to Salt 1 once. Then he's won the other 3, getting wins on Omega, Moxie, Vendetta, bunch of amazing players, Jazzo as well. He is just insane. DD is such a good player. I'm curious to see who he's going to be playing, though. It could be Steve. It could be PT. If Steve does get banned, it's probably going to be PT. But also, I think he can have the same success with PT. He is that talented. And with Steve as well, he could definitely win majors. He could win majors with multiple characters. He just simply needs to go to them. The next 4 players that I want to talk about are going to be the second part of the Haven't Been to Anything, but this time the Mexican edition, and that is going to be Waka, Alandis, Andrik, and Rox. These guys are all incredible. You have Rox, who has a win on Sonics, which is crazy. Alandis, who has a win on Glutony, as well as multiple wins on Spargo. It is just ridiculous how all talented they are. Waka in contention for best Luigi in the world, and we've been seeing a bit more of Andrik recently, which I'm super happy about because he's really talented, and he's had a really nice run at DreamHack San Diego, getting 5th place there. Wins on Kless, Mystery, Chase. These guys, they just need to go to more things. So bad. I just need to see more of Mexico in general things. These aren't the only Mexican players that are caliber of winning majors that just don't go to stuff, because the Mexico scene is incredibly stacked. We just don't really see a ton from them. So I hope any of these guys could travel, or all of them preferably, because they are all just amazing. And the final player in this video in the category of is going to win a major very, very soon, probably the next one they go to, is going to be Beauties. Now, just in case you need convincing, which you probably don't, he has wins on players like Meister, Glutony, Aquila, Light, Leo, Riddles, and Spargo this year. He has wins on all of those players this year alone. Beauties is crazy. He's such a ridiculous player. Some of the best technical prowess we have in this game, and the only thing from stopping him from winning a major are factors that are kind of outside of his control. Aside from Peach just being incredibly difficult to play, he does have some medical issues that can flare up and stop him from playing at the top level that you need to be piloting Peach with, so that's definitely something that can hold him back. But aside from that, he is such a scary player at all times, and he can win literally any event he goes to. And I thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If there's a player that I left out, there's like a 90% chance that I just forgot about them, because we mentioned a ton of people in this video, and there's still so many more that could be in contention. The highest level of Ultimate right now is so close. There's so many people that could win a major, that could repeat winning a major, that could win a major for the first time in 2023, or just new winners. It never know what's going to happen, but I thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Be sure to sub, all that yada yada. Sports been absolutely unreal lately, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.